Welcome to the Bitcoin Boomer Show. Here's your host, the Bitcoin Boomer himself, Gary Leland.
And welcome to the Bitcoin Boomer Show. I'm your host, Gary Leland, and I'm known as the Bitcoin Boomer. Why? Because I like Bitcoin, and it's obvious I'm a boomer. But on this show, we try to educate you about Bitcoin. We talk about Bitcoin. We bring on great guests to talk about Bitcoin with and educate you, like I said, on Bitcoin. You may not buy any Bitcoin anytime soon, but if someone starts talking about Bitcoin and you're a regular fan of this show, you will be able to participate in the conversation, and you may end up correcting them because you may end up knowing more than they do about Bitcoin when they bring it up at a party or at the office or something like that. I want to introduce my great producer, Stephanie. Stephanie, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming as always. Thoughts on today's show?
My thoughts are we can do this because right now we have no AC and it's so hot right now. But you can. I believe in you, Gary. Well, in your Bitcoin boomerness.
You're correct. Stephanie called me yesterday, contacted me yesterday, and said, "Hey, the AC's broken. You want to cancel the show?" And I said, "No. This show must go on." Yeah. But I gotta admit, it's like 100 degrees in here. I thought if I just wore shorts and a short sleeve shirt, I'd be okay. Oh, it is hot in here. I am wet already, and we're just starting. I can't imagine by the end of the show. Yeah. But thanks for the warning. I should have listened to you.
It's okay. We'll get through it.
We'll get through it. But on today's show, we have Chris Bobay. He is the producer or the creator of the Bitcoin Sports Network. We're going to talk about the Bitcoin Sports Network. He's doing golf tournaments, one down in El Salvador, the Max and Stacy Invitational, one during BitBlock Boom, which is the BitBlock Boom Classic, and then one in Vegas. These are all next year, and the Vegas is, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it, but it's at the big tournament, the Bitcoin conference in Vegas at the end of the year. We're going to try to bring you all the information you could possibly want to know about the Bitcoin golf tournaments coming up through the Bitcoin Sports Network, and of course, we're going to talk about some just general Bitcoin information in an attempt to educate you. But a lot of the questions I have are personal questions about the golf tournament in El Salvador. Since I'm going, I want to know what there is to do because I want to do more than just go to a golf tournament since I don't play golf. So my wife and I are going to go. We're going to see El Salvador. We're going to go see the volcano. We're going to go zip lining. We're going to go see the Mayan ruins. Turns out there's a lot to do in El Salvador. So we will see how that works out. So do stay tuned. We're going to go to a commercial break, and then we'll be right back with Chris Bobay of the Bitcoin Sports Network. And hopefully, you'll learn a lot about Bitcoin, like every other show. Be right back. And welcome back to the show. Now, in case you're new to the show, I do want to start out by telling you something that I think is kind of important. On this show, our whole goal is just to educate you about Bitcoin, the world of Bitcoin, what's going on with Bitcoin. But what it is not here for is to sell you Bitcoin. I don't have any Bitcoin I want to sell you. I'm not going to sell you any of my Bitcoin. It's strictly an educational show. And many of the people who listen to this show are new to Bitcoin and they want to find out more about it. But we have a lot of seasoned Bitcoiners that keep it up, listening and watching because of our guests. We have interesting guests. Like today, we have Chris Bobay with Bitcoin Sports Network. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, Gary. Good to see you again. Looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, it's nice to see you. I think we met in Nashville, started talking about your golf tournament. One thing led to another, and here we are today doing a show together. But before we go any further, please give everybody a short bio about who is Chris.
Yeah, so I've been in the Bitcoin space for about 7 years now. You know, back in 2017, the space was a lot smaller than it is now, which allowed me some opportunities to meet some individuals who have, I guess you would say, climbed the pecking order in the Bitcoin space high enough now where if I hadn't met them back then, I might not know them today. But yeah, Love Bitcoin, started buying it back then, started doing all the research, following Michael Saylor, following Max Kaiser. Actually, I was in it a lot before Michael Saylor, and following a lot of the OGs in the space and just kind of learning the ropes and why Bitcoin's valuable and why it's important as part of my family's and my business's as a treasury reserve asset. And one thing has led to another, and here we are today.
Well, you and I evidently got into Bitcoin at the same approximate time. I also found out about Bitcoin. Found out about it earlier, but finally someone explained it to me in a way that made sense in 2017. And that's also when I started buying Bitcoin. So we've got into it at the same time, and you, as I have seen it go skyrocket and seen it drop to nothing. Not nothing, but just about 70% drops, things like that. So we definitely, you and I, along with many other people, have been on a roller coaster ride for the last 7 years. We still have a volatile asset, but it doesn't seem to be quite the big drops like that anymore. But if you're new to Bitcoin, it does seem like a big drop to you. How did you find out about Bitcoin?
Honestly, it was a conversation I had with a friend over the course of about 2 hours. He kept trying to convince me on why I should own Bitcoin, and I kept trying to convince him on why it was too much of a speculative asset. And at the end of our conversation, his points intrigued me enough to research it on Google and check out the white paper, and I read it. And as soon as I read it and figured out what it was, I was noticing that the entire world was becoming digitized. We don't shop in stores anymore, we shop online. We don't bank in person anymore, we bank online. Everything that we're doing is more and more online, and it just felt like a natural progression that at some point the money was going to be digitized as well. And I saw this as maybe that asset that was going to become that digitization of a financial asset, of money as we know it. And so I started just dipping my toe in the water and learning more and more about it until my conviction was high enough. And it's kind of, the story of many of us as we go down that Bitcoin rabbit hole. I'm really no different.
I think what you're saying is very similar to my experience. I had someone try to explain it to me like stocks, and it's like stocks, and that held no interest to me. I wish I had. It was like 2013 or something, but that didn't have any interest to me. And every time I see that guy, I tell him thank you for the millions of dollars he cost me by saying it was like stocks. And he always goes, well, you're a boomer. I thought you'd understand that better than explaining it to you. But what really got me into Bitcoin is like you, is someone explained it to me as the only missing protocol for the internet, the protocol for money. And as you said, everything's digital, everything's online, and that actually interested me, and him and I had like a 4-hour conversation about it that day. And I soon started buying. I think I started buying the next day, actually. So the money part of it, or the digital money part of it, is also what was interesting to me. Another thing I want to go over real quick, I thought was interesting, which I didn't know about until just a few minutes ago, or a few minutes before you came on the show, is you have a book, I guess. Do you have that book with the help of your wife, or Bitcoin, what is that? Bitcoin for Kiddos. I thought it was a cute book from what I saw of it. Can you tell us about that and where people can find that? Give us a rundown.
Yeah, so my wife and I, we have a young family. We got a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. And my wife kept telling me, because all I would talk to her about was Bitcoin for like 3 years. And so finally, when she was orange pilled, she kept telling me that we needed to write a book about Bitcoin for our children that they would understand. And as we all know, kind of explaining even to our friends what Bitcoin is, it can be a really daunting sort of process to try to find where we can find ways to influence our friends' mindsets and helping them learn more about this incredible digital asset. And so I stewed on that for about a year. And then my wife is an artist, and she said, look, you write the book and I'll do the pictures. So after about a year of meditating on it, I finally had an idea for the book and a concept, and it all kind of flowed out of me. I guess it's one of those things where if you sit with it long enough, eventually you'll figure everything out, and then it looks natural, but it was anything but. And so I wrote the story out for it, and I read it to a couple of people, and everybody was excited about it. And from there, my wife and I, we would just sit at the dinner table after we put our kids to bed for about 3 months and discuss concepts and ideas and picture ideas. And through all of that, Bitcoin for Kiddos was born.
And that's available on Amazon or a website? Or where
you can buy it on Amazon, or you can go to bitcoinforkiddos.com and you can purchase it there.
Because really one of the only books I'm familiar with Bitcoin is the one by the Bitcoin rabbi. And I can't think of that, and I haven't seen him in so many years. I don't even know that book's still out. Are you familiar with that book?
Yeah, I think it's called Bitcoin Money.
Yes. That was really the only book I really knew of. I know there are more, but I'm glad to see there's another one going on. So how have sales on that book been?
Been good. We've sold several thousand copies. We don't do much marketing on it. It's just kind of a grassroots effort. We have so many other projects that we're working on. It's out there. We have books available. Anybody can buy them. Everybody who buys it seems to enjoy it. A lot of people say that the book is set up for adults as well as children, because it kind of takes a different aspect of the Bitcoin storyline. It's more of the world that created Bitcoin, rather than diving deep down the rabbit hole on what Bitcoin really is. It's more of like, why is Bitcoin important and how can families use it to better their financial futures and provide opportunity for their children?
Good enough. So how many kids did you say you had?
We have two.
Two, and the ages?
Two young kids, 4 and 6 years old.
Oh.
Almost 7 years old, and they both know a lot about Bitcoin.
Well, that's a good age. They can put on and take off their own car seat hiccups at that age.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly. To me what I told my kids were when they were having children. I said, when your kids can put on their own car seats, you're there. That's a giant leap that you can just say, get in the car, let's go, instead of spending 20 minutes packing up everything. So, so congrats on making it to that level. You know, we don't have much time left in this segment, just a minute. So, but when we come back, I want to talk about the Bitcoin Sports Network, which is what you're really doing, your golf tournaments. Are you doing anything else in the sports network besides the golf tournaments?
We're going to be launching a podcast pretty soon that's going to be taking, kind of looking at Bitcoin from a sports perspective, from a professional athlete perspective, and kind of going down the rabbit hole with our professional sports guests and some other interviews discussing how Bitcoin is being used in professional sports and how companies are starting to doing a lot of sponsorship opportunities inside of professional sports to help get the word out about the digital asset and to help change the world.
So can you give me an idea who would be some professional guests?
Professional golfers, professional football players, professional basketball players, professional soccer players. It's really a growing community of people.
Okay. Well, we're going to come back, we're going to go to a commercial break right now, and then we're going to come back, and then we'll go into the sports part of the Bitcoin Sports Network. Be right back. And welcome back to the Bitcoin Boomer Show. I'm your host, Gary Leland, and something I want to make sure you know is this show may be called the Bitcoin Boomer Show, but that's because I'm a Bitcoiner and I'm a boomer. So I'm the Bitcoin Boomer. It's not because the show is for boomers, okay? Anyone will enjoy this show, so please share this show with any friends you have, whether they're boomers or not. I think they'll find it interesting. If they have any interest in Bitcoin at all, they'll find this show interesting. Now let's bring back on our guest, Chris Bobay of the Bitcoin Sports Network. Chris, welcome back to the show. And something, I'm not sure that I covered it in the first segment, so I want to go back to this real quick. According to Chris, what is Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin? I ask everybody this, and I get tons of different answers from people. Sometimes they're the same, but it's surprising how many different answers there are to this question.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. To me, Bitcoin is just the future of money. It's, again, in a digital world where everything is digitized and online, it's really important that there's an asset that we can use that's more global in usage and provides opportunity for the future. As we see governments around the world continuously inflate our money and play games with our financial markets, it's important that we all have a way to be able to have an idea of what our future looks like, and for that future not to be manipulated by the governments around us. And for me and my family, Bitcoin is that reserve asset that gives us freedom that we lose a little bit of every day in the current financial system.
Good enough. Now let's go to the Bitcoin Sports Network. Before we get into the network, what made you decide to create the Bitcoin Sports Network?
Yeah, so about a year ago, after the Miami Bitcoin conference, I put out a tweet on X and basically said, hey, would anybody be interested in playing in a golf tournament for the Nashville conference? And that tweet went viral, and I got a lot of positive responses. And I've been playing golf my entire life and played in a lot of tournaments, and so I understood how they run. And so I decided that I was going to go ahead and put one on. And so from the success of that tournament and from the feedback from the corporate sponsors and from the players, it was just really kind of a natural thing. You know, this is a business that I haven't really been pushing towards. It's more of something that I've been dragged into, which is great because it allows me to basically work with two of my favorite passions, which are Bitcoin and golf.
So there it was. It was born now, though. So Nashville was the first one?
The first tournament, the Bitcoin Golf Championship, sponsored by Samara Alpha Management.
And now you're taking it for 2025. You're starting a season, I guess, starting with a tournament in El Salvador. Tell us about that, about the season, about El Salvador.
Yeah, so 2025 will kick off with the Max and Stacy Bitcoin Golf Invitational, which is a great opportunity for anybody who's looking for an excuse to get down to El Salvador and check out the country and play some high quality championship golf amongst many of the major Bitcoiners in this space and a lot of plebs like myself. And overall, Bitcoin Sports Network will be creating a series of tournaments, starting with the Max and Stacy tournament, and then to the BitBlock Boom tournament, and then culminating so far with the Bitcoin Golf Championship at the Las Vegas Bitcoin conference. And the idea is we're going to kind of create something like a Bitcoin Cup, similar to what the PGA Tour does with the FedEx Cup. So there are teams of two that get to play in the tournaments. We believe, in verify, don't trust in the space. And so teams that consistently play together throughout the year will accumulate points. And then at that time, at the end of the year, if they have the highest point total, they'll win the Bitcoin Cup. And there'll be a special prize for that.
How many people play in a game, in a tournament?
So a typical tournament has 144 players, which basically is two groups of four on every tee box. They're usually shotgun starts. There are some special rules involved in each one of the tournaments to kind of make it a little bit part of that Bitcoin ethos. So there's usually a proof of work hole, which is the long drive hole. There's a 4-year halving hole that has some special rules. There's a 2-week difficulty adjustment hole, and then some other fun stuff to kind of handicap the game a little bit so that the professional golfers and pros that do play in the tournaments, and they do play in the tournaments, makes it a little bit more difficult for them so that the average golfer can also compete with them for fun and prizes and all that good stuff.
So you have professional golfers that play in the tournament?
Yeah, Bitcoiners are everywhere and we don't discriminate, just like Bitcoin doesn't discriminate. So if they want to play in the tournament, they're more than welcome to. And they do play well and they provide some interesting feedback. This last year, we had a guy, his name is Aaron. Oh my gosh, his last name is Aaron Engel. And he got a hole in one. And he also ended up winning the tournament with a buddy of mine. But they're great funds, whether you win the tournament or not. There's lots of prizes. There's lots of free stuff. The swag bag is amazing. You get hats, you get ball markers, you get golf balls, you get tees, you get golf gloves, you get golf towels, basically everything that you would need for golf. And because of that tournament, we also have a lot more sponsors and people in the Bitcoin space that say make putters or make golf equipment who also want to show support for the tournaments and their craft and offer that up for prizes in the tournaments.
Your first event you said of 2025 is the Max and Stacy Invitational, and that's in El Salvador. Can you tell us about that particular event?
Yeah, so it'll be a 2-day event. It's January 10th and January 11th at a country club down there called El Encanto Golf Club. It's a beautiful place. I was just there last week. I got a chance to meet with the staff over there and actually the architect of the golf course and play a couple rounds with him and see how the layout of the course is. They play the Mexico PGA Tour plays there. The Central America Senior Tour is playing there. And there's actually going to be a PGA event I think it's the Mexico PGA Tour is going to be playing there again about 2 weeks after our tournament. So the golf course is going to be set up in immaculate condition. The greens are going to be rolling fast. It's January, which is the dry season there, so we won't have to worry about too much mud or any water on the golf course. So things will be running fast, things will be running smooth, and the golf course will be set up in immaculate condition.
Now, besides the golfers, if I know I'm correct, I don't know why I was going to say if I'm correct, you also have non-golf tickets, a limited amount of non-golf tickets. What does that mean?
Yeah, so there'll be 90 people who can play in the tournament for this particular one, and that's basically just because of the amount of golf carts available. And this is definitely a course that you're going to want to take a golf cart. You're not going to want to walk it. But we also understand that families are going to want to come down there and spouses are going to want to come down there. Not everybody's a golfer. So if you get a ticket, tickets are $400 to play in the 2 days of golf, which also includes food and drink. But that also includes a non-golfer who can basically stay at the pool, play play tennis, play pickleball, play squash, sunbathe, hang out at the restaurants, basically take advantage of all the facilities there while the golfers are out on the course practicing and then playing. And Stacy Herbert is going to be the host of that. And there's also going to be some politicians there and some not heads of states, but I mean, some high people up in the El Salvador government and a lot of people that are high up in the Bitcoin community and companies that aren't golfers, but want to participate in this amazing event to help the adoption for people to move down to El Salvador, understand what they're doing down there, and get a better sense of how Bitcoin can really change nation states.
So, 2 days of golf, non-golf tickets for people to come and just enjoy it. But there's more going on than that. I mean, which I want to get into when we get back, because I know that there's a trip to the beach and things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take another commercial break right now, and then we're going to come right back, and we're going to go into more details with the tournament in El Salvador. Be right back. And welcome back to the show. Okay, we're talking to Chris Bobay with the Bitcoin Sports Network about his Bitcoin golf tournaments that he's hosting. Let's get Chris back on the show. I have a couple questions that I want to know the answers to, so I'm going to use this time to pin you down. Okay, I know the golf practice round is Friday. I know the game is Saturday. I know that people can buy tickets to play, teams of two. And 4 people tee off together, and people can hang out and play pickleball and stuff like that at the clubhouse while the golf tournament's going on. One of the things that supposedly is going on is Friday evening, a trip to El Zonte, otherwise known as Bitcoin Beach. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, Friday will basically look like this. So we'll arrive at the golf course somewhere around 8 a.m. in the morning, tee off at 9 a.m. Usually takes about 4 or 5 hours to play around like that, just because it's new. People are new to the golf course, and they're paying attention to certain things to make sure that they don't make bad mistakes on the Saturday round. But after that, basically, we're all going to go down to El Zonte and hang out at the beach, and people can check that place out and do some shopping and do some lunch eating or some snacking or some drinking. And then in the evening time, Bitcoin Beach is synonymous for their Bitcoin meetups at sunset at a restaurant down there called Olas Permanente, which is a 2-story restaurant, also has some hotel rooms off of it. And it's a sand bottom ground beach restaurant with really good food. And then upstairs seats about 150 to 200 people. At sunset, we do a Bitcoin meetup, and Max and Stacy will find some good guests for us to talk to and have a panel with and help people basically learn more about Bitcoin or answer any questions that they have. So it's more of a social setting where people can get to know one another and network with one another and get a chance to have the conversations with some of those people in the Bitcoin community that they only see on podcasts, but never really get their answers or their questions answered. So this would be a great opportunity for them.
So since that's the practice.
And then Saturday, we're back to the golf course, and then the tournament starts. And then it'll be a full day of fun, of golf, of food, of drinking, of networking, of prizes and awards, and just a great time in general.
So on Friday at Bitcoin Beach, so there's the practice round. What time are we thinking that gets over?
Practice round will probably finish around, so if it starts at 9 a.m., it'll probably be around between 1 and 2 o'clock. I would imagine that it would be done.
Okay, then at 2 o'clock, everybody heads to Azante.
Right, which is about a 40-minute drive from the golf course. But it's a beautiful drive, and I tell you, it'll feel like 20 minutes.
Is there like a van going back and forth, or do people need to get a cab and pool together and get in cabs or whatever they want to do?
We're working on both those options. So we assume some people are going to be down there longer than just the 3 days for the tournament. And so they'll have their own vehicles. So those people are more than welcome to drive themselves down there. And then we're going to look at, El Encanto has a couple of buses where we can take people down to El Zonte. And then they also have Uber or taxi services that will contract with and give some ideas for people to use to get down to the beach and also to get back to their hotels.
Well, tell me this, when they drive down there, are they on the left-hand side of the road or right-hand side of the road? Is it American or European?
On the right-hand side of the road, and you don't have to bring any adapters for electrical devices. They use the same electricity down there as we do up here. The only thing that you'll have to do is buy bottled water.
Buy bottled? You can't drink the water at a lot of places?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of places have filtration systems now, but in general, when you're at the hotels, if they don't give you any bottled water, you probably go to the grocery store and buy a gallon of water. It's like 88 cents. It's really inexpensive.
You were just talking about hotels. I think you had told me you were trying to get, for people going, a block of rooms at the Sheraton.
Yeah, so if you go to our website, there's a link on there that'll have hotel accommodation ideas, and you can pretty much choose whatever you want, wherever you want to stay. There's more than the hotels than we have on the website there, but we are looking at blocking out a large grouping of rooms at the Sheraton Presidente in San Salvador, which is a newly revitalized part of the city. I actually stayed there last week. It's absolutely beautiful. I walked to my dinner locations in the evening time around 8 o'clock. It was warm. People were walking around everywhere outside. Women were walking their dogs by themselves. Security is great there now that the entire country is cleaned up from all the gangs. It's really a safe place, and it feels safe.
Talking to someone at our Friday night barbecue meetup that had just been down there, and my wife has been concerned with gangs and stuff for years. That's why this is our first trip there. I've never been able to convince her to go. And he was telling me that he was walking home from somewhere to the hotel from somewhere at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he felt perfectly safe. He said he felt that El Salvador, or San Salvador, at least, was safer than Chicago or New York, in his opinion.
Yeah. The buildings are new. The hotels are mostly revitalized and look new. The streets, there's still some work to be done. There every now and again you'll drive over a pot or a manhole that doesn't have a lid on it, which can be a little interesting. But other than that, the city is, in a lot of cases, it's better than a lot of the cities here in the United States as far as cleanliness and restaurants and just outdoor activities.
So have you rented a car there and driven around?
Yeah.
And so you felt pretty comfortable that you weren't going to crash into somebody?
Yeah, well, I drive for a living. So, I do about 30,000 miles a year. So, and I've done it in all major cities. It's a congested city, but if you just keep your head on a swivel and drive regularly, it's really not that difficult. There's a lot of roundabouts and the roundabouts are maybe 2 to 3 lanes wide. So every now and again, you get somebody from the inside trying to cut across 4 lanes of traffic to get to whatever street that they need to get off of. But if you know they're going to do that, it's not really that big of a deal. And then they have a lot of traffic police out on those intersections during the high traffic hours that direct traffic. And so it's really not an issue.
Yeah, I don't really have that big a problem with we rent a car everywhere we go. I mean, pretty much everywhere we go, we rent a car. But we were just in Grand Cayman Islands. You drive on the wrong side of the road, which is fine. I can handle that. But I had a really hard time taking roundabouts going the opposite way for some reason. That took me a couple of days to get used to. If I'm on the right side of the road, I don't have a problem with roundabouts. On the left side of the road, threw a whole new loop for me. I kept thinking I was going to hit people. My wife was screaming the whole time, "You're going to kill somebody." So, but maybe that's because I'm a boomer too, right? So who knows about that? Okay, so you've answered quite a few of my thoughts on, hey, before we go, have you been to the volcano?
I haven't. You can see a volcano from the golf course. And while we were there, there was an earthquake, which I barely felt. Stacy was a little bit unhinged, I guess I would say, for a few minutes after the earthquake. But coming from California and living through the '89 quake and then living in Los Angeles, earthquakes are just a normal part of life. So to me, it felt like nothing. But for people who have never felt an earthquake before, it can be a little unsettling. But it's not like an earthquake like you get here in the United States, because basically it's just, there's a lot of volcanoes down there, right? So it's the magma moving underneath the ground. And as it moves, it creates tremors. But it's really nothing to be nervous about. Those are the types of things that release pressure, not build pressure. So they're good. It just basically means that in most cases, a volcano is not going to explode.
Well, we're going to keep that volcano, the earthquake action down on the down low with my wife. I'm having a hard enough time getting her there. I don't need to throw that into the loop, earthquakes into the loop. Another thing I saw, if people were going, they might be interested in, is they have like a really nice Mayan pyramid down there that they've excavated, or that they've opened up and stuff. Have you seen that by any chance?
Yeah, I'm the sports guy. I'm not really the historian guy on that
I thought
side.
You might have done something touristy, dude.
El Salvador has an immense amount of culture and history, from the people who live there to just, like the Mayans, the beaches. It's just such a beautiful place to go. It's really an oasis that most of the world has avoided because of the decades of turbulence that was happening down in the country. But now that Bukele has cleaned all of that up and changed the government and gotten rid of a lot of the bad actors down there, El Salvadorians are starting to move back to the country, and businesses are popping up all over.
And we'll be right back after this word from our sponsor. And welcome back to the Bitcoin Boomer Show. Today we're talking about sports, golf in particular, with Chris Bobay of the Bitcoin Sports Network. Welcome back, Chris. Well, during the break, I had a thought there that I needed to know the answer to. My last trip, as I said, I went on was the Grand Cayman Islands, and our damn Waze and Google Maps didn't work worth a damn down there. Do they work? Do they work in El Salvador, or do I got to get a paper map?
Yeah. I have Verizon, and Verizon basically, whenever you're out of the country, it gives you an opportunity to use a roaming feature on there. It's like $10 a day, and that gives you access to the internet just like you would have here.
AT&T does the same thing.
Well there.
AT&T, but for some reason, Grand Cayman Islands, the mapping system didn't work worth a damn anywhere we went. Yeah, we were like, it was dragging so far behind, we'd pass it on the roundabout before we knew which one we're supposed to take. As I said, those roundabouts were hell. So Sunday, I wanted to go back over, Saturday? What was Saturday? Saturday's the golf tournament.
Yeah, so Saturday's the golf tournament. People will show up at about 7 o'clock in the morning. They'll have a chance to warm up. There'll be breakfast there for everybody. And then the tournament will start at 9 o'clock. It's a shotgun start scramble, 2-man team tournament. So everybody will go out to their predetermined hole and start playing the round. And then after the round, that round usually takes about 5 hours, 5.5 hours, because people take a little bit extra time on their putts and whatnot, because the prizes are going to be amazing. So far, what we have going for the prize is a similar to like a Masters jacket or an RBC Classic golf tournament jacket. We're going to have the Bitcoin orange jacket, which is a custom made, hand tailored and stitched jacket made of the finest materials, cashmere and silk and wool. And the inside of it will be all silk with a custom Bitcoin mural that really makes it one of a kind. And these jackets, I tell you, will be a coveted feature for years to come in the Bitcoin space. And so that's a first place. And then we also have some custom putters that are going to be one for certain players, and there's going to be a long drive competition and closest to the pin and a hole-in-one challenge that is looking like a $50,000 grand prize paid in Bitcoin for anybody who gets a hole-in-one.
Wow, sweet. That's sweet. That's really nice. And you said someone got a hole-in-one in Nashville.
Someone got a hole-in-one in Nashville on the 17th hole. The hole-in-one hole for the one Bitcoin was the 13th hole, so they didn't win the one Bitcoin. But they did get the closest to the pin on that hole.
Sweet. Okay.
So there's your consolation prize.
Well, let's go to the next tournament, the BitBlock Boom Classic.
Yeah, so BitBlock Boom is the next tournament. It'll be held on April 3rd in Nashville. More details, in Dallas, it's about 10 minutes away from where the BitBlock Boom conference is going to be held. More information will be coming out on that in the next week or two as we get the website up and get that all determined. One thing I want to say too is none of this would be possible without the help of our sponsors. And so we've partnered with companies like Unchained Capital, ZapRight, Riot, Kraken, Luxor, BitPay. There's a lot of companies in the Bitcoin space that are looking for new ways to be involved in the Bitcoin community. And sports just create that, that ethos in Bitcoin of proof of work and proof of, or in game theory that really you can't get anywhere else. And so it's a great way for companies to communicate what they do and create opportunities for the average person in sports and Bitcoin and in traditional finance.
So I imagine you have some place on the website for people if they're interested in sponsoring?
Yeah, if you're interested in sponsoring, reach out to us. You can either reach me at chris@bitcoinsports.network. Or the email addresses through each one of the websites, and we can send you all of our sponsorship opportunities. You can sponsor holes, you can sponsor after events. There's lots of different ways that you can participate. If you're a young company that doesn't have a lot of sponsorship dollars to be able to put towards something like this, we can also work with you as far as your products go and help get those into the player swag bags, and just whatever we can do to get your name in front of the players and more Bitcoiners. We're open to those opportunities. So just let us know.
And so you got Max and Stacy, you got the BitBlock Boom, and then it ends up in the Vegas with the Bitcoin Golf Championship, correct?
Yeah, it'll be kind of the culmination one. So there's a lot of work, a lot of planning going into this tournament. We're going to try to outdo what we're doing with the Max and Stacy Invitational Golf Tournament, which is going to be hard because it's going to be an incredible event with so much going on, and people are just going to be like, all I paid for this ticket was $400 for my wife and I to come down and spend 2 days with Max and Stacy at their country club. This was a steal, and the amount of networking and opportunities that come out of the events that we put on are just second to none in the Bitcoin space around these conferences.
So I just want to make sure I understand it. So when these three tournaments are over, whatever team, two-man team that has the most points, I don't know how you calculate that, wins the jackets?
No, they'll win a Bitcoin Cup prize, still to be determined. Again, so we've run one tournament. That was the Samara Bitcoin Golf Championship at the Nashville conference, as kind of a proof of concept, if you will. And the success of that tournament has really helped us grow what we're now trying to become, kind of a Bitcoin golf tour, if you will, with the ultimate goal of producing golf tournaments that are stepping stones into the larger PGA sanctioned golf tournaments with prize pools and denomination in Bitcoin. So that's the end goal here. And those are going to be things that are going to be coming out in 2026. But for the average pleb and for the average Bitcoiner, these tournaments will be available for all of us to enjoy in and compete in and get prizes and make new relationships. And hopefully a lot of new Bitcoin businesses will come out of these networking opportunities from these events as well.
Okay, now we're getting ready to run out of time, so tell people where they can follow you, follow the tournament, follow the network, whatever, all the social media, whatever you want to give out here.
Yeah, so on Twitter X, you can follow us at BTC Golf Events. That's the Bitcoin Sports Network handle. Or you can follow me at Bitcoin, the number 4 kiddos. That's more of my personal account on Twitter or any of the websites. So that would be bitcoinsports.network or bitcoingolfchampionship.com or bitcoingolfclassic.com or bitcoingolfinvitational.com.
That's a lot to remember there. So get your paper down and rewind this.
As long as you wrote down one of them, you can find me, and you'll be good to go.
That's good. Hey, just had a thought. Is Max playing in the tournament?
He is playing in the tournament. Yeah, I got to play a couple holes with him when I was down there. His back was a little tight, so he's hitting the gym, working with a personal trainer, and working with the golf pro down there in regular lessons, and hitting the driving range up and getting his golf game dialed in so that he can compete and have a good time in his own tournament.
So he is a golfer then. It's not like he's just getting out there not knowing what he's doing. He's been taking lessons.
He's a new golfer, but he's caught the bug and he gets out there regularly. And I saw him hit a couple of shots, and yeah, he's got a good swing. And
then Stacy's going to be involved with the stuff going on in the clubhouse and the events and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, Stacy, she'll be hanging out, having conversations, drinking margaritas, just having a good time while everybody's out on the course and making new relationships.
So this sounds like a great networking event. If you want to meet Stacy and Max, if you want to meet other Bitcoiners that you may have seen before but haven't had a chance to meet, this is a great opportunity. Chris, I do want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been great having you. Thank you for answering my personal questions about the tournament in El Salvador. Some other people might have had the same questions. I think I'm going to get down there on Tuesday or Wednesday and see the countryside and do what we do is touristy stuff. So thank you again for coming. I do appreciate it. And good luck in the tournament and with the season.
Great. Thanks for having me, Gary.
And everybody else, we're going to be right back after this word from our sponsor. So please stay tuned. And don't forget to share the show with your friends. We need you to tell people about it. Bitcoin's a growing thing. Everybody needs to learn about it. So do share it with your friends. We'll be right back after this word from our sponsor. And welcome back to the show. I hope you enjoyed today's show with Chris Bobay, finding about the Bitcoin Sports Network. As I said, I'm going to go down to El Salvador for the golf tournament. It'll be our first time we've ever been to El Salvador. My wife, Kathy, would have nothing to do with that before because she was kind of scared. It was full with gangs and terrorists. But after talking to so many people, it seems like it's a pretty safe area to go to now. So we're going to give it a shot. So I hope to see you down there. Also, Steph, what'd you think of today's show? Our great producer, Stephanie.
I think we did a great job surviving through the heat with no AC in the studio, which is happening right now.
I agree. You told me there was no AC, and I said we're going to record it anyway.
Gary,
but I should have brought like a damp, cold washcloth or something, and I could have been wiping down during commercial breaks.
For sure.
Next time, I'll know better. I'll know to do that. But yeah.
My takeaway was golf and sports and Bitcoin is now a thing. So yay.
And it's 100 degrees in here.
It's 100 million degrees.
Thank you very much, Steph. Hey, for everybody out there, do make sure and check out our conference, bitblockboom.com. We host that in April. Every year in April. We're the oldest existing Bitcoin conference right now, so do go to bitblockboom.com. We will have the BitBlockBoom Golf Classic there this year. Also want to make sure you know about Bitcoin and the American Dream. This is a book that I co-authored, Bitcoin and the American Dream. Takes about 45 minutes to an hour to read. You can read it on a flight for sure. So this is a great book to buy for someone if they're interested in Bitcoin or you want to share it with them. It comes in paperback and hardback. So do check out Bitcoin and the American Dream. Maybe buy it for a friend if you want to help teach them about Bitcoin. If you're interested in following me, follow me on Twitter. That's where I'm normally at. You can find me at twitter.com/Gary Leland. Imagine that, /Gary Leland. How creative I am. So do go to to twitter.com/Gary Leland. And if you have Bitcoin and you want to give it to a kid or a friend as a Christmas present or a stocking stuffer, check out satscardshop.com, satscardshop.com. We have Sats cards there. They're kind of like credit cards. You can actually put Bitcoin on them. They're a great tool to use. Great for stocking stuffers. Give them to a kid who's 1. By the time he goes to college at 20, probably be worth a whole lot more. So that might be worth checking out if you have Bitcoin that you want to share with your family members or friends. Do share this show with your friends. I do ask you that. Like I said, we're not trying to sell anyone Bitcoin. As you can see, we didn't try to sell anyone Bitcoin during the whole show, but we do want to educate you because the future of money, I believe, is Bitcoin, as many other people believe. That's it for today's show. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good day and stack those sats.